Welcome everybody to our Body Signals theme for January, which is bouncing back from the holiday hullabaloo. A little bit of alliteration there. So really, when we talk about this time of the year, we can make fun of it, but seriously, this is a really stressful time of the year that we've just come out of. And I'm so happy that you guys are here because you're the ones that want to take action. You want to learn as much as you can, and you want to take care of your health. The people that are going to be watching the recording, they're in the same situation. They just couldn't be here physically, but they're taking the time to view the recording so that they can learn from it. So I want you to ask you to be as engaged as you can tonight so you get the most out of it. I noticed that, did you ever go to the gym and there's that gal and she's just chatting away and wasting everybody's time, and then there's the one that's panting and sweating and tucking into it. Who is getting the most benefit out of that time spent? The one that's completely engaged. So is everybody up for being completely engaged tonight? All right, excellent, thank you, because I'll do a better job as well. All right, so this topic though, actually I want to do some housekeeping before we go into this topic. So the housekeeping is that coming up next month, we have one of our favorite workshops, Chocoholics Workshop. So we actually are going to be doing taste testing of healthy chocolates. And it's amazing what is out there because people oftentimes are demonizing chocolate, but it's really getting the right kinds, and they have all kinds of health benefits. So it's a very popular workshop. I hope you'll come. We've got the sign-up sheet right here. I'll pass it around. Get your name on it. It's going to be on Wednesday, February 13th. Thematic, right? The day before, because you're all going to be going out on your dates on the 14th. By the 13th, I've got you. So come and join us so you can learn how to be healthy even during Valentine's Day. Okay, also I want to mention next month we have our Body Signals workshop. So just like this one has a theme, which is all about bouncing back from the holidays, in February we're going to talk all about the immune system. Who would just love to just skip the flu this year, right? Yeah. So I'm going to show you exactly how you can do that. And we're going to look at how to boost your immune system in 21 days. So here comes the sign-up sheet for that. That's the following Wednesday. That's on Wednesday the 20th. So the 13th and the 20th, exactly right. All right, so, and think about who you want to bring to that workshop, because this information, look what's happening out in our community of people struggling with their immune systems. Everybody wants to know how they can boost their immune system, so think about who you can bring with you to the workshop, okay? All right, now we're going to dive into our topic tonight. So I want to tell you the story about a woman that came into my practice before last year, so a year and a half ago. And she came to this very workshop last year, and she gave a testimonial, and I want to share it with you. She couldn't be here tonight. She basically was saying that when she came into the practice, she had terrible, terrible sinus infections. And she would notice that at the holiday time of the year, things would get worse, right? And so she came in, she had her new patient exam, I gave her the recommendations, and she followed all the recommendations, and then there we are, coming up on a year later, and she reports that her immune system is so strong. Her sinuses are in great shape. And the reason that happened is she learned how to live a healthier lifestyle over that year. So she learned how to get her nervous system clear, how to get her spine healthier, but also how to stop recreating patterns in her system as well. And her whole life has been transformed because now she's on this quest to learn as much as she can about healthy lifestyles. And so she's always learning more and more, whereas this was something that was not really, she was just living a conventional life before that. Just going along with whatever our culture says you should do. Basically the media telling you what you need to do to live, and we can see how that turns out. So this time of the year is a time when so many people have maxed out on their stress. And this story I'm going to tell you next, it epitomizes it. I had two colleagues that were traveling to a seminar, and it was in December. And they're on the plane, and suddenly this guy, he's in his 40s, they would describe him as deconditioned. You get that image of what a deconditioned 40-year-old guy is, right? And his 11-year-old daughter is traveling with him. This guy has a heart attack on the plane. he dies on the plane. Can you imagine being that 11-year-old girl and getting off the plane without your dad, right? I don't want that to happen to anybody that I know, right? And the fact is that what happened to him was completely preventable if only somebody could have gotten to him soon enough and gotten him on the right track. So it was in the holiday time of the year when that happened. And so you can imagine what he was thinking. Okay, yeah, travel is stressful, but oh yeah, I'm out of shape. I got time. I'll get in shape at some point, right? He thought he had time. Well, it turns out that with heart attacks, I don't know if you know this, but it's the leading cause of death. Cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death in our country. With heart attacks, 51% of the people that have a heart attack, their first symptom of heart disease is a fatal heart attack. They don't get another chance. So the first symptom of the number one killer in our country is no symptom at all. Yeah, right. And I'm going to show you something that's going to blow your mind. This was a study that was done over 30 years, just about, where they looked at when people die from heart attacks or heart disease. If we look at every day of the year of how many die on that day, from 1973 to 2001, it's statistically the same, where here we are July and here we are in June. So in July, there's a little bit of activity, and then you just start to see it. It starts to climb. It goes up. Look where it peaks right here. There's Christmas. There's the week between Christmas and New Year's where it drops a little bit, and then it peaks, maxes out on New Year's Day. Maximum stress, right? And then you can see it tapering back down again, and then the cycle continues. So this particular study, it goes up to 2001. I promise you, these stats have not changed. This was just this particular study where they were reporting on the data. If anything, it's gotten worse. Yeah. So how many people here think that we live in a sick country, right? Are Americans, are we healthy or sick, right? We have a sick country going on here, right? The people in our country are sick. And I know that sometimes these kinds of data, nameless, faceless statistics, your eyes can kind of glaze over, and it can also almost be overwhelming sometimes when you hear these kinds of statistics. So overwhelming that oftentimes people will kind of check out, okay, well, let somebody else figure that out. That's just too much. I'm not going to let you do that tonight. No, because this data, it comes from people right here in our community. Vermont is not immune to this. So this same graph here is playing out in our state, in our towns, in our community. People how many people here know people whose health has tanked over the holiday time period? Yeah, when you think about it, it's like, okay, that's right. And I know, because I'm hearing it, like when people talk about parents dying, right? Like loved ones that are, like, I keep hearing about it, and it always maxes out this time of the year. So check it out. Our modern world is stressful already, and then we have the perfect trifecta of adding in the holidays, where it really just goes over the top. So when we see these kinds of stats and it's happening over decades, is that okay with you guys? Is this acceptable that this is what we get in the health of our country, right? And that it just keeps playing out year after year after year? It's not acceptable to me. And so I have to ask the question, why is this happening? Why are we getting this over and over when we have stats to show us that this is happening? Why is it happening over and over? And I think that there are 3 reasons why it happens. I have a colleague named Dr. James Chestnut, and this is what he says. He frames it this way, which is perfect. He said, people think that when they get sick, it's because of bad germs. That's probably what it is, bad germs. Or if it's not that, it's bad genes. It's bad genes, and that's, we're getting more and more information about genetics now. It's bad genes. Or it's just bad luck. Yeah, I just got sick this time of year. It's just bad luck, right? That's what people say over and over again. But what it really is, you look at it. If this is peaking this time of the year, do our genes change this time of the year? Our genes don't change at all, right? Over thousands of years, they don't even change, right? So they certainly don't change in a few months. What is it that changes during the year when this is happening? What changes?
Stress levels.
Our stress levels and our behaviors, right? Yeah, it's the choices that we make. It's our behaviors that change. So it's not bad germs, bad genes, or bad luck. It's bad behavior that's causing this. So now you understand why I said that what happened to that guy on the plane was completely preventable? Like, get him into my hands. I can tell him exactly what to do to change that whole trajectory that he was on. But he didn't know, and he thought he had time. And we don't have time. And the people that are the victims of this, they all thought they had time, didn't they? Yeah. And do you think that they were dying because, they didn't take their medication that day? Or they didn't follow their doctor's orders that day? No. These are people that are following exactly what their doctor is telling them to do, right? But it's in a model that isn't working. And that's what I want to show you. That's why I want to show you why is it so important that we really pay attention to this time of the year. And if we did get stressed out from this time of the year, what do we need to do to bounce back as soon as possible? That's what I want to go over tonight. Does that sound good to everybody? Yeah. All right, so the number one reason why I think this is happening is because people are they're not using the right definition for health. Like, they're using how you feel, right? That guy on the plane, he was feeling okay, right? He was feeling status quo, but when he looks around him, everyone else is like this. So he's feeling okay. He's using how he feels to determine how healthy he is. How many people do we know that are using that as their definition? A lot of people, right? So, what does it feel like? Like this is what people will say. On Monday, I was feeling pretty good. I was healthy. On Tuesday, I started to get a little scratchy throat. On Wednesday, my back was hurting. On Thursday, I felt like crap. I was so sick. And then took the day off on Friday and had the weekend to recover and then feeling better. And now it's Tuesday, I'm healthy again. People literally talk about their health that way. Like, one day I'm healthy, one day I'm not, based on how they feel, right? Okay, so check it out. What does a heart attack feel like? At the time it's happening, I got some pain in my arm here, and some people aren't even sure it's happening, right? But that's one question. But the other more important question is, what does heart disease feel like? What are the early symptoms of heart disease? There aren't any, right? How about what does it feel like to have early onset of cancer? Nope, don't know. Early onset diabetes? Don't feel it, right? How about a cavity? Something as mundane as a cavity, what does that feel like? By the time we're feeling it, it's advanced, right? So as people are using the wrong definition for health, that's one of the reasons we have this problem, right? So can everybody agree we need a better definition for health to be using, right? Can we all agree on that? Yeah. Who's ready for that? All right. So what I want to share with you now is what are the things that I encounter most commonly in my practice when I can tell that people have just overloaded from the holidays. Here's what it looks like. See if you can recognize this. Exhaustion. Getting the cold or the flu. I had one woman come in, she got a cold and told me about it. The next week she comes in, she goes, I got a cold. I said, yeah, you already told me that. She goes, no, I got another one. She got 2 in a row. Like, how often does that happen, right? Headaches, digestion issues, weight gain, that holiday weight gain that happens, put an extra 5 pounds on, except you don't lose it. So year after year, it's another one, and you're just getting heavier and heavier. That happens to people. Irritability, pain, chronic pain tends to actually go up this time of the year. Anxiety goes up this time of the year, and depression goes up this time of the year, big time, yeah. So this is what I see of how it plays out. Now, what is the typical way of dealing with this in our culture? Just push through it. Here, take these pills so you don't feel this. Just keep going, right? You're maxed out, and then you add the holiday stress to that and get overloaded, and now you're told just keep going, right? That's what we see. So it's important to understand that this is the new normal, what we're seeing here now, right? That's what we're seeing is people are medicating to manage it, and they just keep going, and they look around them, and everybody else seems to be doing the same thing. It's the new normal. That's what's so disturbing about this, is we've now normalized this. There was a point where if we looked at our natural state of health, the natural state of health would have been extraordinary health. Like genetically speaking, we go back 40,000 years, right? We were designed to just be healthy. The natural state, extraordinary health. The common state right now, it's extraordinary stress. That's what's normalized now. And that's a problem. It's really affecting people's health. So all of these things are symptoms, but we also like to call them signals. They're body signals. And we need to learn to understand how to speak body. So if you look at these symptoms, and the conventional way is just take some medications so you don't feel this, right? Here, there's some medications for anxiety and depression, for your chronic pain, for your digestion, your headaches. We have medications for this for you so that you don't feel it. And you can tolerate it until you just blow out from it, right? I forgot to give everybody this signal to turn off their cell phones. You can turn off and come right back in, all right? So the point is that if we just use our conventional model and we just try to silence the symptoms instead of listen and learn from them, then we're just going to keep moving towards worse and worse health. So the idea of looking at symptoms as body signals, something for you to pay attention to and learn to understand. So every month we're covering a different topic so you can understand the language of those body signals. And when you understand the language, they are telling you what the cause is. And once you understand the cause, then you can correct it. But if you never understand what the cause is and all you're doing is silencing those symptoms, then it's just going to keep showing up in many different ways of illness and sickness, chronic illness. Okay? So interpreting what these body signals are, understanding them, learning what we need to do to correct them, that's what it's all about. So again, that comes back to the language you're using. And we just said the language about health that we're using is the one that's getting people into trouble. So let's look at this idea of symptoms and how to understand them, and health as well. Now this is a beautiful paradigm that I like to share with folks. It's an illness-wellness continuum. So at one end here, I'm going to step over here. So at one end we have the low level of function, premature death, like the guy on the airplane. You die early, right? At the other end, you have this high level of wellness, right? So we have these two parameters here, two ends of the spectrum. And what they found is in this study that there's a neutral point. The neutral point is where you don't really have any kind of labeled disease or sickness, but you're definitely not at a robust level of health. So you can't really say that there's anything going on, but you're not actually really healthy. What they realized was that there were three zones to this. There was the sick zone here, there was the not sick zone, and then there was the healthy zone. And what they figured was that most people were actually living in the not sick zone, but calling it healthy. And maybe they had never even tasted what robust health really was like. Okay, so that's the range. And here's what they found out. Everybody was going to be located somewhere on this continuum. So everybody in this room, everybody that's watching, somewhere on this continuum, you're going to land. Nobody's standing still. Everybody's going to be moving in one direction or the other. You're either moving away from health or towards health. What they found is if you were at the neutral point and you started to move away from health, the first thing that showed up were signs that you were moving in that direction. After that is when symptoms showed up, when you felt it, and then if you still didn't manage it and get healthy again, it led to disability where you couldn't fix it anymore. All right? Everybody knows the difference between signs and symptoms? Okay? A sign is something you can measure, but not necessarily something you feel. So when you get your blood pressure checked, that's a sign that you can measure, and you can measure high blood pressure, but that person may not feel that they have high blood pressure, okay? A symptom is something you feel. So, oh, I was sick on Monday, right? That's what you're feeling, right? This is what's important, is the signs came before the symptom, right? If you have the cavity, you don't feel it, you go to the dentist, they can find it, and they find the signs of that cavity. They can handle it before it ever becomes symptomatic, right? And so clearly, if we want health, at the very least, we need to know how to recognize the signs before they become symptoms and before they deteriorate into disability. Okay, on the other side of this, if people wanted to get from this kind of false wellness and move towards that robust levels of wellness, they realized that the first step was awareness. They had to be aware that there was even this other land out there, right? Here's Crazy Town. They think that that's what it's all about, right? There's another whole world out there, right? So awareness was the first step. After that, education. They actually had to study, what do I need to do? Why is that? Because we live in a culture that pushes people in this direction and is not doing anything to actively educate people on the right way to live. You can tell I take that job very seriously, right? Yeah, so education is the key to moving in that direction. But look what's on the other side of that. Growth. You know what that means? Action. You have to grow into this new lifestyle, these new behaviors. Because if you don't push and grow into them, then just the entropy of society is you're just going to be pushed right back down that way. So we can't just live by default in our culture anymore, right? 40,000 years ago, that's all we needed to do was live by default. Like, I'm hungry, I'm going to pick that up and eat it. It's going to be healthy for me, right? And then I'm going to move my body all the time, and I'm tired, I'm going to go to sleep, right? We didn't have to live any special way. We just had to live the way we were living, and by default, we were going to have extraordinary health. Not anymore. We have to use our brains to make choices and reconcile how dramatically we've changed our world into the very unhealthy, stressful world that it is today. We have to live differently, and that's how we get that robust level of health. Does that make sense? Okay, all right. So please recognize that I present this to you because I want you to be thinking about your choices. And if you're not thinking about it and you just live by default, we know what direction you're going to head. So your beliefs will influence the way you're thinking and the decisions that you're making. Once you make those decisions, your behaviors or your choices are going to result in a different outcome, right? So if you want a different outcome than you have right now, you better look at what your beliefs are and the choices that you're making. And you better start doing it differently, right? Isn't that, what's that? You fill in the blank for me. If you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting, right? Yeah, exactly right. Okay, so the first thing, the reason we have this problem is the wrong definition. But the second problem that I see is people are not taking responsibility for their health. And they're not doing that because they're not taking responsibility for their outcomes, right? We're seeing it play out here. We're seeing more and more people moving in this direction. This is becoming normalized. And they're not taking responsibility that they want a different outcome. This is our culture, right? You tell me if I'm right. You get sick, just go to the doctor and get the pill. Isn't there one pill that's going to fix that? That's what we're trained to do. Every day, the commercials train us to think that way, right? So we have to take responsibility. So who ultimately is responsible for your health? Who is it? Is it your spouse? Is it your personal assistant who does your scheduling for you, right? Nice to have one of those. I can see the eyes in the room, right? Is it your doctor? Is it your insurance company? I hope not, right? Yeah. Can we all agree? Right? It's ourself, right? We have to take responsibility. And the sooner that we just start taking responsibility, the sooner we get to change what happens here. And remember, when you're taking responsibility, it doesn't mean you just know something. It doesn't even mean you just like it on Facebook, right? You have to take action. You have to take action, right? Sharing it on Facebook is taking action, right? But then incorporating it into your life and making the changes, that's when you're really going to move the dial. So when we talk about responsibility, can we all agree that that means taking action? Okay? All right. So when we talk about these beliefs, I want to make sure we're on the same page with what premise is going to get you towards that level of health that you really want. Let's look at the premises that we're working from. All right, here we go. Healthy is normal. Healthy is normal, right? Meanwhile, every commercial tells you just need to take this pill and you can have this great life, right? Healthy is normal. Your body is smart. It was designed to be healthy. Every cell is always trying to move towards health. It's designed to be healthy. The nervous system is the master system that controls every function in your body. The brain sends the messages down the spinal cord, out through the nerves to every cell and back again. As long as the messages get there and back, you get to be healthy, right? Nervous system is master control. And your spine is the suit of armor that's protecting your central nervous system. The helmet covers the brain, right, the skull, and then the suit of armor is the spinal column that's protecting your spinal cord. And finally, we have to acknowledge that modern life is unnaturally stressful, right? We can all agree to that, right? And, you know, if we just look about this idea of stress, like, I remember in the 1980s, I gave my first talk to the Junior Chamber of Commerce, and the topic was stress, right? And this is in the 1980s, right? This was a brand new topic. No one had ever talked to them before about stress. I remember this clearly. And at that time, the idea was you just try to mitigate that stress, like back off from the things that are stressing you. Just move away from them. Those people that stress you, move away from them, right? Yeah. That job, just leave that job, right? Yeah. So since the 80s, the way to deal with stress that's been taught is just mitigate that, right? How well is that working? Yeah, it's not working well at all, because look at what's happening to our culture. Look at how sick we're getting, right? Since the 1980s, we're not getting healthier with that strategy, right? I'd like to propose a different strategy, which is, what about mastering stress? What about bulletproofing yourself from that stress? What about thriving in the presence of stress instead of it affecting your health? So that's what I want to show you is, what do you need to master stress? Even at the holiday time, what could you be doing that you could be mastering that? Okay, so let's first recognize that stress is coming at us from all angles, It's 3 dimensions of stress. So oftentimes when we think of the holiday stress, we're thinking about the thoughts, the mental, emotional stress of the holidays. Oh, I got to see those relatives again, or, you know, oh, I got to stay up too late trying to write my Christmas cards, or wrap the presents, or do the shopping, like all those things. Never mind the parties that you have to go to. It's the boss throwing the party, right? So there's all kinds of mental, emotional stresses for the holidays, but stress comes in 3 dimensions. All year long, it comes in 3 dimensions. It's the thoughts, the toxins, and the traumas, all of those things. And so recognizing that those are happening, okay, so I want you to remember that, did you guys know that Santa comes to get adjusted right here at Wellspring? Did you know that? Yep. And Santa knows nothing about HIPAA compliance and patient privacy. So Santa shared with me the naughty and nice list. I know about all of your holiday indulgences. I know about them. That's right. So you're not going to fool me, right? I know what happens, right? Okay, so it's one thing to have a holiday indulgence, but if that's actually happening all year long, it's cumulative. It's cumulative. We have to acknowledge it's cumulative. We're not getting away with anything as much as we think we are. And here's what we often find. Oh no, I work out so I can have that muffin with my latte, right? No, I'm sorry to report that that's not going to work for you, yeah, because you can't get away from the inflammation from that, right? So we're going to go into a little bit more detail with that. So, but I just want you to understand it's cumulative. You have to recognize that. All right, so first we're going to unpack each one of these: thoughts, toxins, and traumas. So thoughts. When we look at this whole idea of stressful thoughts, right? It's that demand that is threatening us, the demand on us that threatens our resources. That's what stress is. When we have a stressful thought about something, it's because we have so much demand on our limited resources. So let's look at that idea of limited resources, because if you start to recognize that and what's competing for your 4 limited resources, then it's going to make sense to you of how you can start to master that. So awareness is the first thing. Awareness is the key. All right? And so we're going to look at that and also just recognize that when we get stretched beyond what our capabilities are, that's when we will go into stress mode. Okay? So our 4 limited resources are going to be time, energy, focus, and money. Does this sound familiar, right? So the next time you're feeling stressed, you want to look at what is it that's stressing me? Is it time? Is it energy? Is it focus? Is it money? And it may be a combination of those things, but if we start to look at it from that viewpoint, then we'll start to recognize why our body is going into stress mode. Okay, so remember that ancestrally, like when we talk about energy, our ancestors would have equated that with food. Food was hard to get. It was hard to get energy, so you prioritize that, right? So you would put energy into capturing food that you could then use to sustain your energy. So you're going to guard your energy actually quite a bit, the same way you would have guarded your food that you had, right? You made the kill and here comes someone else and no, I'm sorry, this is my kill, right? Yeah. So your energy, you're going to guard that just as ferociously as you would guard food that was going to save your family from starvation, right? Nowadays food is everywhere. We can get, right? Imagine like I'm thinking of Fred Flintstone, right? Imagine him going up to the cave in his stone car and having food thrown at him through the window, right? Imagine our ancestors, right? Having food thrown at you, right? No, we live in a sideways culture. Food is so easy to get. And anytime any of these resources are threatened, our body, our brain, actually our reticular activating system goes into mode just like it's a tiger threatening us. And then all of our bodies goes into a stress response from that. So let's look at when we are exceeding our capacity in any of these or all of these categories, and look at the whole year we have this going on, and then we throw the holidays at us, right? Time, energy, focus, money, right? Exactly. So let's look at what actually happens when our body goes into a stress response. Our blood pressure goes up. So think of tiger chasing you, right? Like you're down at the watering hole, you're getting a nice drink of water, and then all of a sudden you're like, I think there's a tiger over there. So now you're gonna run, right, to safety. Run or get ready to fight. So what's gonna happen in your body? Your blood pressure is gonna go up to push that blood to your muscles so you can be cooking it out of there. Heart rate's going to go up, same reason. Muscle tone's going to get more tense, right? So recognize if more tension happens in your body when you're stressed, right? This is by design. Our digestion will be upset. So at first, our digestion speeds up. Get rid of that right now, right? And then it slows way down, because the last thing we want to do is expend energy on digestion when we need to expend it on surviving the next minute. Okay? Our serotonin goes down, not a good time to sleep when the tiger's around. Our sensory systems, everything goes on alert, right? Fear and anxiety go up, right? Fear and anxiety. Our immune response is actually going to be downregulated. It's going to turn down because it's a very expensive system to run, and we want all the resources right now to just get away from that tiger. We're going to need that immune system if we get attacked, but right now we're moving away from that tiger, so turn the immune system off while we're stressed, and then if we're injured and we're in the cave and it's time to recover, we'll turn it back on. So immune system gets shut down when we're stressed. Insulin sensitivity, that's going to change also because we want more blood sugar happening, because that's the fastest way to get it to our cells that are going to be burning it up, right? So that will send our insulin, our blood sugar is going to tank, right? Blood sugar is going to go up, meaning that's not healthy for us, right? we're going to have a decrease in the lipids, the HDLs, the healthy ones, and an increase in the not healthy ones, the low density. Why is that? Well, when we look at the cholesterol and the lipids, they are there for repair. If you get a wound, to have them ready to repair that wound right away is going to be useful. So that's why you will flip those lipids. And the lipids also are to make the stress hormones. That's what we use to make the stress hormones. So if the stress hormones are maxing out and you just keep making them because you keep being stressed, right, then that's going to increase that. And our clotting factors are going to go up again, so that if we get attacked right away, we're going to clot. And sex drive, yeah, not a good time to make babies when the tiger's showing up, right? So these are the things that happen in a typical stress response. And this is a healthy response when the tiger shows up. This is what will save our life when the tiger is really there. But it's what's killing us. Doesn't this look like a heart attack waiting to happen, right? So this is exactly what's maxing out. When we see that peak happen at this time of the year, all of this is going into high drive, right? And the problem is that it's sustained, right? It's sustained over the whole year, and then it just keeps getting added to more and more at the holiday time of the year. Okay, so there we are, right? That's what's happening. So just imagine each one of these people, what was happening in their body at that time is they were maxing out in a stress response. And at the moment of that cardiovascular accident, at the moment, that was when it was just maxed over the top. The body couldn't handle it anymore. Yeah. Okay. So who knows what system, like if we think about the immune system, right, that's for fighting infections, right? So if you have an infection, it's the immune system that kicks into gear. What system is it that handles our food? Digestive system, okay? What system moves us around? Musculoskeletal system, exactly right. And what system helps us manage stress?
Mental, I guess.
Is that endocrine?
This is classic, like blah, 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 blah. Like there's either silence or reaching for it, right?
Shotgun.
It's our nervous system. Our nervous system. And the endocrine system, the hormonal system, it plays out here, but the nervous system actually has the defining decision on what hormones are going to show up and when. So when stress hormones are maxing out, the nervous system has chosen that to happen. So it is the nervous system that actually is what allows us to manage our stress. It's the nervous system, yeah. And so people are dying from stress. They don't even know what system is in charge of that, right? The average person has no clue what system is actually in charge of us managing our stress. All right, so I want to show you a better way of managing stress than what our culture is doing right now. I want to show you a better way. And I know that we have many different levels right here in the room, and people that are watching the recording. We've got newbies that are new to this whole idea of healthy lifestyle, freshmen we'll call them, and then we've got grad students, right, that have studied this a lot. So wherever you are, you just want to take it to the next level. So don't be overwhelmed by the information I'm going to give you if this is a new thing you're starting out with. You know, like just stick with addition. Leave the trig and the calc to the grad students, but just stick with addition. So just think about, in all the categories we're going to talk about, just look for where you can add health in that category. Okay? And so I'm going to kind of give you some ways to tier it, to have different tiers with it, depending on what level you're at. All right, so don't get overloaded. Overload is not allowed here. So
Stressful.
not stressful, yeah, not allowed. All right, so first, if we're thinking about recovering from the holidays, this is the ideas you want to go with for thinking for recovery. You want to choose your attitude. We actually have choice here. And human beings our brains are set up in a way where we have this one part of our brain where we could actually choose to think differently about something. So we need to capitalize on that. We can let our reptilian brain run the show, which basically is fight or flight, pleasure or pain, right? Something happens and you're either going to be pissed off about it and blaming and all that, or you're going to be delighted with it because it's awesome, and then still giving credit out there. Choosing your attitude is key here. So really understand, as a premise, you actually get to choose what your attitude is. Connection, acceptance, respect. This is hardwired into us. This actually conveyed a survival advantage. If you're in the tribe and you are respected and you're accepted and you're connected, yeah, your longevity, not only are you going to get a better pick of mate, right, but you're going to be protected in that tribe community, that tribal community. So this is hardwired into us. We need this. We require this to be healthy, to have this acceptance, respect, and connection. So choose your relationships wisely. Look at who you're spending your time with, and look at how you can add more connection, acceptance, and respect, and how you can actually cultivate that in your relationships. Energy exchange. Again, look at your relationships. What's the exchange of energy? Some of your friends and family are best to be loved from afar, right? When you're looking at the exchange of energy. And then we come up with this idea of unconditional love. This is not unconditional acceptance of behavior. This is unconditional love despite behavior. And again, you can love them from afar. So this is not condoning their choices. This is just loving them in spite of their choices, and just continuing to love them in spite of their choices. But it doesn't mean you are condoning their choices if they don't match your values, right? And then there's grace, right? Love them even when they don't deserve it. Forgive them even when they don't deserve it. Because it's healthier for you to do that. It's healthier for you to do that because it allows you to connect, right? And when we don't forgive, that's when we're disconnecting, and we already covered that one, how important connection is. There are some tools that I like to recommend for folks to use when they're really stressed about things. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and I have another whole workshop that I teach on that, but look into that if you're not familiar with it. A book called Loving What Is by Byron Katie. She's an amazing woman that transformed herself, figuring it all out. Her book, there's 4 questions that she teaches you to ask yourself, and she goes over it all in the first 20 pages, right? The rest of it is just examples, but you get what you need in the first 20 pages of the book. Like, that's a great book, right? So, and you can get used copies everywhere with that book. It's so popular. So, Loving What Is. And then Headspace, that's an app that I've come across that is a meditation app. It's a free app, and it can take you through 10 days of 10-minute meditation. So if this idea of managing your stress is a new thing and you think meditation might help, which research shows meditation is awesome for that, then you can just get started with the free app. Just check it out, try it out. And then you can get more sophisticated from there as well. But these are the key things just to get started with. All right, so thinking for recovery, okay? Sleeping for recovery. Sleep is really important. It's not a luxury. It's not a luxury. And sleep really needs to trump everything because it's the thing that we are losing. As we get more convenience, we are losing our sleep. So we have to really protect it. And I want you to look at this as protecting your rhythm, meaning understand that there's a circadian rhythm. There's a rhythm human beings have in our day. It's linked to daylight. And so think of it, our ancestors, when the sun went down, you just went off into the cave and you slept. That was what you did, right? Grabbed your mate, grab some firewood, off you go, right? So protect your rhythm. Understand that it is a physiological rhythm that we have. And we're not getting away with anything when we stay up really late and try to sleep in during the day. People that are on night shifts, you're in trouble.
Question, so does that mean we should be going to bed earlier than normal or later than normal, depending on what season it is?
You could say that, and there are some studies that show that it looks like we might need more sleep in the winter. Yeah. So basically, if you're shooting for 8 to 9 hours, that's what seems to be the healthy normal. Yeah, the healthy normal is 8 to 9 hours. Yeah. All right, and so an E-fast is a really important thing to consider. So that means shutting off the electronics at least an hour before bed. Yeah, brutal. I know. How many people here, right? You come from work and you're ready to start the second half of your day, right? The sun goes down and now you're starting the second half of your day, right? Yeah, gotcha on that one. Yeah, I know. So those e-fasts, they're crucial. Okay, so you can listen to things. You could listen to things, but you don't want the light coming into your eyes. That's where it's a problem. Taking naps, it's definitely allowed. It's even condoned. Like some of the most brilliant people in the world actually take naps. Yeah, and now there's even a little bit of a status thing happening with the elite people talking about the naps that they're taking. So it definitely counts. Yeah. And on our long days here at the office, when we're here from dawn till dusk, right? Middle of the day, when we have our break, it looks like bombs got off in here sometimes. We're all laying on the tables taking naps. Yeah, so taking naps is a good thing. Don't overcommit. That's the reason. Like when you look at the number one reason why people are not getting enough sleep, it's voluntary. We're the only species that voluntarily doesn't get enough sleep. The only species, yeah. So look at your commitments. No is a love word. It is, yeah. So just say no to take care of yourself, right? So don't overcommit. And then check your expectations, right? Don't try to be that superhero, superhuman, right? Because if you're exceeding your capacity in those limited resources, right, it's going to tank. And not getting enough sleep is going to tank at least 3 of those 4 directly. Your energy, your focus, right? Maybe not time. You're thinking you're getting the time, but it's a trade-off, do you see? All right. Second category, toxins. Toxins. Yeah, this time of the year. Never go hungry. This is the strategy here. This is how you manage this all year round. Never go hungry. Don't go to a party where they're going to be serving all kinds of junk food that's not healthy for you. Don't go there hungry, right? Because you're not going to be able to manage it. Yeah. So make sure that you're not going hungry, right? The battle is won at the register. Don't let it into the house, right? You know when it comes into the house, you know you're going to eat it. You're just going to eat, and you're going to finish this up, and it's going to be done. Yeah? And then the next time it's going to come. So you have to have a new rule. It doesn't come into the house. And if it makes it into the house, it leaves the house as soon as possible. Okay? It doesn't, you're not the one, it's not your job to finish it up. Okay? Don't drink your calories. This is a tricky one because there's a lot out there about healthy smoothies. Watch out for that. So definitely watch out for it in the form of soda and alcohol. Watch out for it there. But even smoothies, don't make those sugar bombs that are just loaded with fruit and that's it. No, your pancreas is going to tank and you're going to increase the inflammation in your body. So make sure if you're going to do a drink, you want to make sure there's green stuff in it. That's the best way to look at that, right? Okay, avoid the white stuff. You know what I mean by this, right? White sugar, white flour, that's what we're talking about. So avoid the highly processed foods. Avoid the white stuff. And then fill yourself with healthy foods. So that's really important, that you're not only do you not ever want to go hungry, but you want to make sure you're filling yourself with the healthy foods, all right? Now, I just want to say something about this idea of treats and snacks. Treats are occasional indulgences, and they're only after you've already filled yourself with the healthy foods. Snacks are always healthy, right? Snacks are things that you have maybe in between meals, but they have to always be healthy. You can't have a treat as a snack. Okay, that's new rule, okay? New rule. All right, so what are you going to eat? Unlimited vegetables. Unlimited, as much as you want. And slathered with all that good healthy fat, right? Good healthy butter or healthy oils, right? Plenty of lean cuts of natural meats, fish, and eggs. Some fruits, nuts, and seeds. No refined carbohydrates and sugars. Our body wasn't designed for that. Genetically, we weren't designed for that. This is what our ancestors would have been eating. This is the default way to eat if you're going to just stay healthy. So these are the rules here. Okay. So if you are just starting out on the journey of getting healthier with your eating, 101 for you freshmen, you just want to add more healthy foods in. So when you look at your plate, you want to ask, where's the plant, where's the fat, where's the protein? Where's the plant, where's the healthy fat, where's the healthy protein? If you're having a snack, you want to ask the same question. Where's the plant, where's the healthy fat, where's the healthy protein in that snack? Okay, it has to apply to any of your meals, including your snacks. 201, so we're going into the sophomores here. 3 anti-inflammatory exchanges. So this is how you want to start to shift the choices you're making. You want to go with these 3 categories. You want to shift from inflammatory to anti-inflammatory. And I didn't include it, but in your packet, I'll give you the anti-inflammatory diet if I haven't already given it to you, the handout. Okay, I'll give that to you, and I'm definitely going to give it to you. I promised you that. And that's how you can learn what are the exchanges? What is the healthy version of sugars, the healthy version of grains, and the healthy version of oils that I can use? So it's the ancient grains, and I'll give you the sheet so you know that. But that's important. Okay, next, if you're already doing that, start thinking about eating more but less often. So in the beginning, when we say never go hungry, right, you may need to have breakfast, then a snack, then lunch, then a snack, then supper, then a snack. You might need that in the beginning to keep your energy up. But once you've got your energy and those foods are getting healthier, then you want to start cutting out the snacks and just going with the 3 square meals a day. Okay? Those of you that are kind of my age or older, when we were kids, we had 3 meals a day. What is the snack thing, right? Okay, maybe when you came home from school, there was a glass of milk and something, right? But it was 3 square meals a day. You look at farm kids, it's 3 meals a day, right? We need to get back to that. As long as but it has to be healthy food that you're putting in, right? Did you have a question?
Yeah, I was kind of wondering why you should go away from that, because I don't really snack a lot, but I eat really small meals just because it's a preference. So I probably eat 5 times a day, but really small meals that are healthy. So I'm wondering why. The reason is because your blood sugar, it's going to affect your blood sugar. So if you're eating a lot, then your blood sugar is going to just stay a little bit ramped up, and which means you're in danger of a crash with it, right? So, but if you start to shift away from that and you become more what's called fat adapted instead of carb adapted, then you have so much more energy available. So if you're running on those foods, you'll have about 2,000 calories available to you at any given time. And then you use that up, better snack again, better get more in. But if you're fat adapted, you'll have 20,000 calories available to you at any time. And so it's healthier for your body, healthier for your brain, and it drops inflammation to be fat adapted. Yeah. Okay, then we get to more advanced here, and again, that's what it's about, becoming fat adapted. You can look at intermittent fasting or block fasting. Okay, that's advanced, right? So don't jump right into that, and I'm happy to coach you and guide you on wherever you're at, right? But think of it as just jumping level to level to level, okay? Excellent. All right, what about supplements? Okay, so let's just give a reference now to this. So when we look at the fact that we don't exercise the same way our ancestors did, we have gyms we can join. So we can reconcile that. So we can supplement our daily rhythm with exercise, right? And then if we look at what the soils were like that our ancestors would have been eating, their food that had been grown in that soil, so nutrient dense. The foods that our ancestors would have eaten would have been so nutrient dense. But our food is grown in soil that's been depleted. If it's not organic, it's got the pesticides on it. And so we eat a peach today. 50 years ago, 2 peaches, the equivalent of that today is 52 peaches. We have to eat 52 peaches today to get the same nutrients that we would have gotten from 2 peaches 50 years ago. Yeah, so please don't fool yourself thinking, but I'm eating lots of fruits and vegetables. We have to look at how do we reconcile that? And okay, our ancestors, if something went sideways with our health, the herbalist in the tribe would have said, go dig up that root, right? Dry it out for 3 days, boil it for 6 days, but make sure you have the bark of that tree in with it,
and then tie it up under the moon, put it under your pillow for 2 more days, and then make a tea with it and boil it with, a cauldron of fluid, and then take 1 teaspoon, right? Yeah. So we could just take this little capsule that has all the nutrients right in it, right? To reconcile the fact that our culture, our food is actually not giving us what we need. Yeah. So what are the supplements when you're thinking about recovering from the stress of the holidays? You want to look at probiotics so that your gut is really good and strong, because a lot of indulgent foods can wipe that out. Vitamin D is going to be key, especially up here in the northern hemisphere where we're not getting the sunlight that we need. B complex, that's when we're stressed. That's what we're going to tank. We're going to use up our B vitamins, so B complex is important if we've been overstressed. Chlorophyll, the green stuff, so in any form you can drink green drinks, right? And again, that's a little different than drinking your calories. So if you're actually getting that green drink because you've buzzed down the celery and the cucumber and the spinach and the avocado, right? That's what I mean by that. So chlorophyll, but you can actually do a chlorophyll supplement as well. Spirulina is a form of that, blue-green algae. Fish oil, so important. It's the anti-serum to inflammation in our culture today. Yeah, so fish oil, really important. And then other anti-inflammatory tools, boswellia or turmeric. So boswellia is frankincense, and turmeric, we've all heard of curcumin, right? So wonderful as an anti-inflammatory. Restore is a product that I love because our culture now has this ingredient called glyphosate that's in everything. That's Roundup. So crops are being sprayed with Roundup, and it just goes in the wind, and it's in everything now. Not just the crops, but the organic crops next door, it's blowing on them too. So glyphosate is in our culture. We're finding it everywhere when we test for it. So Restore is something that actually heals your gut from the damage from glyphosate and then is protective from that. And that's really important. So we carry it here. I love that product. And so once we actually do get glyphosate once we stop using glyphosate, it's going to take about 10 years to get it out of the environment. So until that time, I'm going to recommend people protect their guts with the Restore. All right, SP Green Food, if you're just not getting enough vegetables in, you can actually take this wonderful little capsule that helps you to get it in until you've got your diet in place so that you are getting those fresh fruits and vegetables in yourself. But SP Green Food's a great product. SP Cleanse is to help with the detox organs, like the liver, the lymph, the kidneys. So that's what that nutrient does. And then gastrofiber is what makes your bowels healthy, because your body won't get rid of toxins if your bowels aren't healthy. If you're constipated, don't try to do a detox. You've got to get the bowels moving, and then your body will be ready to dump toxins. So I highlight these, and now I want to just show you, if you want to, again, go a little bit more into it, these are some other choices you can make. And by the way, the Bonfire Omegas I love, and the Restore I love. Both of these, again, the fish oil is the anti-serum for the inflammation. The Restore is the anti-serum for the glyphosate. Protects you. Okay, so when we talk about detoxing, like actually going into an intention to detox, again, there's ways that you can do it. So the easiest way is freshman year, you're just going to add the SP Cleanse and the gastrofiber. And you could just add that in for a short period of time, or if you just know that you don't have your diet set right, so those toxins are coming in all year round, you just add that into your diet. It's going to help you to manage it much more effectively. Help those detox organs stay healthier and keep things moving through. Okay, if you already feel like you've got that in place as far as your diet goes, but you know, we still need to think about detoxing, there is a 10-day detox that you can do. And the program I like, I gave you a handout on it, and I'll show you at the end. There's a program that's by Standard Process. It's a 10-day detox program. It's so simple. You make these shakes with, again, it's all in you put it in, you shake it up, you drink that. It tells you how many to drink a day. And you're also eating your regular diet with that. You can get more serious with it and do a 21-day purification program, which I used to do that 1 or 2 times a year on a regular basis, and now they have the 10-day detox that you can do, so there's more options out there now. The 21-day is if you really want to go for it. And then the TCD program, that stands for True Cellular Detox. And some of you may have an awareness that maybe you have some serious toxins that you have to take care of, like heavy metal toxicity, things where if you've got some really intense, serious chronic health issues, then it may be related to some toxicities that you need to handle in a special way. And so the True Cellular Detox program, that starts as a 3-month program. For some people, it goes on after that too. But if you've got the heavy metals in there and you've got chronic inflammation, that's one of the programs that's amazing. And then if you've already done all the detox and you just want to look at how can I ramp it up another level, then you can, again, look at intermittent and block fasting as a way to detox on a regular basis. And what fasting does is your body will, basically, when you stop putting the food in, it'll look at, well, where's the debris that I can start to burn up? And so it's going to go after the bad cells, the unhealthy cells. It's called autophagy. And it eats up the bad cells and leaves the good, strong ones to keep recreating. And so that's why it's so powerful as a healing tool. So, and so on my website, wellspringcls.com, if you go /TCD, it'll tell you more about the True Cellular Detox program. So again, just a review, SP Cleanse and Gastrofiber are the first level to just help to support the detox organs. Then you could do the 10-day detox balance program, you could do the 20-day purification program, or you could look at the True Cellular Detox program. And there's another, if you write this down, I don't have that on your handout, if you write this down, getenergy.today, that will actually take you through, I think it's about a 7 or 8 minute video that goes into even more detail with the True Cellular Detox program, what that's all about. All right. Traumas. So here we're in the 3rd category, sources of stress. Did you guys get that written down? Okay. So when we look at this next category of stress, so it's winter, it's the holiday time to go sledding. Okay, so my daughter and I, we're on the sled, the same sled. I'm in the front, she's kneeling behind me. So I'm sitting down, cross-legged, she's kneeling upright behind me. And before we even take off, she's leaning forward and I can feel her I'm like, no, don't push against my head. That's going to subluxate me. Don't do that, right? She goes, oh, okay, sorry, Mom, sorry. I didn't know I was doing that, right? All right, we take off down the hill. It was so much snow that it was the trail was not paved yet, right? And so we end up just hitting this big clump of snow and we stop suddenly. Okay, can you see what's happening here? Slow motion, right? I'm sitting cross-legged. She just bolts forward on me and my head just goes crunch down. I'm like, oh, yeah, I told you not to do that, right? Subluxation. It happens, right? We can hurt our spine. That's a trauma. So traumas happen. Yes, they do. And, you can have car accidents, you can have sports injuries. The big traumas happen, and they're bad when they happen, and damage happens, but something else can happen with them that may not be as obvious. So we can have these macro traumas that can happen, but they can actually set into motion a pattern of damage in the system that you don't feel that can then start to play out, and it can affect your spine. And if it affects your spine, it can affect your nervous system. So remember we talked about the suit of armor that is protecting the spinal cord. The vertebrae are like a suit of armor, and they protect the messages that are going out to the body from the brain. So as long as the messages get from the brain down the spine, out through the nerves to go to every cell and back again, you get to be healthy. But if there's anything that interferes with that, so if you injure your spine in a macro trauma, the muscles that got injured that hurt, they may heal up so that you don't feel that pain in the muscles anymore. But if you've misaligned the vertebrae by that jarring, that can continue to cause disturbance in the nervous system that can affect your health. So the nervous system is all about communicating the messages from the brain to the body. That's how the body stays healthy and healing, is through the nervous system. And so if you want a healthy body, you need a healthy nervous system. And to have a healthy nervous system, you need a healthy spine, because the spine is protecting that. All right? And so when we talk about how to best cope with stress, we have to look at the health of our spine to do that, because the nervous system is in charge of handling all of that. So when we talk about how do we have a healthy response to stress, it means that we are readily and appropriately responding to the stresses that we're exposed to. Readily and appropriately. If we have interference in the nervous system, we may not have that readiness to be able to respond to the stress that's in front of us, then we're going to be overloaded. And we may also respond inappropriately to that stress. So, do you ever have a scenario where you're in the room, you have one experience of how that all went down, right? But that other person had a whole different experience of it. Like, it was okay, but the other person, it was not okay, right? Two different people, same scenario, same situation, different experiences. One overloaded by it, inappropriate response. The other one handling it just fine, appropriate response, right? So healthy response to stress means readily and appropriately dealing with that stress. Subluxations are the interference in the nervous system. So when the vertebrae, when you have that like sledding, oh no, bam, right? If the vertebrae misalign and it puts pressure on the nerves, that's a subluxation. Now it's interfering with the flow of messages between the brain and the body, that subluxation, the misalignment of the vertebrae, putting pressure on the nerves. So what happens with the subluxation is the joint misaligns. You get a misalignment of the joint. That will damage the soft tissue in the area. That then creates inflammation in the area. And your smart body will then take a joint that usually the muscles would be moving that joint around. Those muscles are going to spasm and strap that joint down so it stops moving, because more movement in a subluxated joint means more irritation to the nervous system. So your smart body is trying to protect you, so it's going to strap that down, right? So ever heard of people that have muscle spasms and they go and they get a muscle relaxant? That's smart. Let's relax that muscle that's trying to protect you, right? And then you relax that muscle and it starts to hurt more. Oh, let's get those painkillers now. Oh, now I feel great. I'm all relaxed while I am destroying my nervous system, right? Causing more and more damage. So that muscle spasm is your smart body responding to that. That nerve irritation that's there, so the injury, it's not just a musculoskeletal injury, it's affecting the nervous system. And that nerve is carrying the vital messages between the brain and the body. Then when we strap that muscle down, it fixates the joint. It means that that joint is now stopping moving through its full range of motion. The brain is used to getting signaling from all these joints with motion. And the motion of the joint sends a stimulation to the brain. The brain says, oh yeah, that's good. Motion's good. Motion's good. When you get subluxated, it stops getting that signal from that motion and it goes into a stress response. Like something's wrong, that I'm not getting that stimulation, and the body goes into stress response. There's something wrong, stress response. So it's not just a local problem here. Now we're going into a stress response in the body. So when you're subluxated, you're going to ramp up that level of stress that's just happening in the background. And if you can restore the motion in that joint and you get the signaling going through, your cerebellum receives that mechanoreceptor stimulation and it resets the brain into turning the stress switch off. And so if we have subluxations, it will elevate the stress hormones in our body. That's what's happening. So when we strap down the joint and it stops moving, the disc in between the bones will actually start to deteriorate, because the only way that nutrients get into the disc and toxins get out of the disc is from movement, like a sponge. It doesn't have a good blood supply. So like a sponge squeezing the fluid out and drawing the fluid in, that's how we feed our disc and get rid of the toxins. If we strap down that joint, that imbibition stops and that disc will start to deteriorate. So we can have a normal disc, we can have a disc that's degenerating because of long-term subluxation. We can have discs that then bulge and are coming out into where the spinal cord comes down and the nerves come out. We can have herniated discs that are really coming out. We can have discs that just get worn down and thinned out. And we can even have discs that thin out and the bone spurs start to occur. All of this is related to chronic subluxation patterns. So not having a healthy spine. Having a trauma of some sort, of macro trauma, but also something else. So I want to now talk about the importance of the micro traumas that can occur. Because when that stress response is going on in your body, you're in stress mode from the subluxations. It's not just from a big trauma. Subluxations are what are causing the nerve irritation and the interference in your body's innate ability to heal and remain healthy. It's disturbing the ability to be healthy when you have a subluxation because the messages are not going through properly. And it's interfering with your ability to respond readily and appropriately to what's happening, the stresses that are happening. So let's look at this idea of micro trauma. Oh, shoveling. How many people have I heard? They come in, oh, my back's kind of bothering me. Oh, why do you think that is? Shoveling, right? So you don't have to have a sledding accident or a car accident or a sports injury in order to get subluxated, right? Even just the wear and tear of shoveling and moving your body improperly, that's a micro trauma. What else? You don't even have to shovel to get subluxations. Does this look familiar, right? How many of us are spending so much more time on devices than we ever have before, right? And so our posture is tanking from the use of devices, right? We have to pay attention to this. The next generation is going to be in big trouble because of this, because they're growing with this. So let's look at this whole idea of microtrauma. Doesn't this look like a very common sight that we see nowadays? We see it so often. But this is what I want you to look at in this picture. Look at the neck, right? Look at the shape of the neck. All bending forward. That's important. So how many people here feel like they spend more time than is probably healthy on their phones? Yeah. How about our kids? Right? Yeah. It's a problem. So part of the problem is the use of the devices. Part of it is the sitting that goes with it as well. We are just way too sedentary. Way too sedentary. If we were meant to sit as long as we're sitting, we'd have 4 legs coming out of our bottoms, right? We have 2. We should be moving, right? So we're designed to move, but we're sitting way too much, and it's affecting our health. They actually have studies that show sitting is the new smoking because all causes of death increase when you sit too much. Yeah, all causes of death, yeah. But especially it's linked to obesity, heart disease, diabetes, right? It's linked to that whole metabolic syndrome, sitting too much. So sitting is the new smoking. Screens are the new crack cocaine, right? If sitting's the new smoking, screens are the new crack cocaine. All right, so we have to reconcile this because it's leading to all of the chronic disease. And I will tell you that the leading cause of stress in our culture today is the use of devices. It's microtraumas, right? And so how can we reconcile this? There's something called the 4-minute workout, right? That's a way to reconcile this. You don't even have to go do the whole 1 hour at the gym every day, right? Now we are learning that even just doing a 4-minute workout a few times a day has the equivalent of so much benefit, even more so than going out for a 1-hour run. Yeah. So on my website, I've got a 4-minute workout that you can follow. Yeah. It's easy to do. Everybody can do it. But let's get back to the mechanical stress. So the leading stress is the use of devices. This is what biophysics tells us is happening with this posture that's happening. So if our head is right up over our shoulder, 0 degrees of tilt, 12-pound head, we can manage that, no trouble. If our head goes forward just 15 degrees, that 12-pound head is now costing us 27 pounds of work. Like you take a barbell or a bowling ball, right, and you hold it out here, you're working harder and harder. 30 degrees forward, it's now the equivalent of 40 pounds of work we're doing. 45 degrees, 49 pounds of work, right? How often are we seeing this posture in our kids, in our colleagues, in our family members, right? We're seeing it everywhere. And this is a mechanical stress on your spine and your nervous system that's happening. So let's go look inside of that nervous system now. Oh, look, we've got a fuse box happening here, right? It's a fuse box. So you know the wires go to different rooms in the house, right? And they go to different organ systems. So the brain is sending the messages down the spinal cord. That's the central nervous system. Out through the peripheral nerves, the peripheral nervous system. And that's how we get to the organ systems, right? So the spine is the electrical panel that contains the circuit breakers to your body, right? That's how important it is. Now, I have folks that when they understood this, it completely changed their life. I'm thinking of one woman. She came to me, and it was just before Christmas, and she came to me because she was an older woman. She was hurting so much that she had to retire from her job because it was hurting her, and she was afraid that she wasn't going to be able to go on the bus trip to go shopping in New Hampshire that year. It was a really special time for her, and her back hurt her so much she wasn't going to be able to make the bus trip. So she comes in for care. She's on all kinds of medications trying to manage it. She gets under care, and she starts to get healthier. And she's able to go on the bus trip. So she's so excited about that, right? She stays under care, and she's getting healthier and healthier. She's getting off her medications. She's taking her supplements. She's getting her spine taken care of. The next year, instead of going on the bus trip, she was going snowshoeing. Okay? Yeah, that's what's possible. She thought she was too old to go snowshoeing. It wasn't age. It was that her body was breaking down early because of the subluxations that she had in her system, right? And when we talk about, again, getting the spine healthier, talk about that Christmas time of the year and how, like, oh, the GI bugs that can come through and hit people this year. The number of people that told me about that. I had a woman that had trouble with her digestive system. That's why she came under care. We got her into the program. We got her adjusted. We got the right supplements into her. We got her lifestyle working better. And she starts to heal up. Her family, a GI bug goes through the household. Everybody else gets sick. She didn't get sick at all. Yeah. So transformation is possible, right? Even in people that are feeling like they're really vulnerable to certain things, the body can completely transform if we do the right thing. So let's look at how do we determine when subluxation is there. When I talk about these people coming in and we analyze them, we figure out that there's subluxations. How do we know subluxations are there? We have objective tests for measuring that. So we can feel the motion in the joint, right? We said it gets fixated if it's subluxated, so it loses motion. We can actually palpate it and just feel it twisted. We definitely want to look at posture as a way to determine if there's imbalances in the spine. X-rays are another way to get a look inside. The instrumentation is one of the most powerful ways that I know of measuring the health of the nervous system. So when we take all of this, of course, we're going to also do case management. So we want to find out what are all the stresses and traumas this person's come in with, what are the health challenges that they have, and how do we get them back to living their life on their own terms with full function. So finding what the cause is, and then being able to correct it because we know what the cause is, that's the key. And the instrumentation and all these tools help us to do that. So how would you know if the holiday stress had left any kind of unhealthy neurological patterns in your system? You'd have to get scanned because you can't feel this. This is measuring the part of your nervous system you can't feel. But the nervous system is the window to your health. Remember we talked about the signs showing up? This is one of the best tools to show the signs of stress in your system. I have people that come in that say, I manage stress just fine. And then we look at their system and they're not managing it. What do they mean by that? They're meaning, I don't feel like I'm stressed, right? But it's all buried in their system. We can see it playing out. And these are the nerves that are going out to different organs. So we know exactly what organ systems are being stressed by the holiday stress they've been exposed to, or their year-long stress as well. So these subluxations, they leave scars on your nervous system, and they better be addressed or it's going to start affecting the organs that those nerves are in charge of controlling. So the first stage of finding this is a sign of dis-ease in the body before the disease ever shows up, right? So the earlier we can detect it and correct it, we can prevent things from happening. And so we want to remember to adjust for recovery as well, right? Specific chiropractic adjustments are what correct the subluxations. And in my practice, as you know, I use the gentle light touch. And that, instead of the forceful structural moves, and that gentle light touch, it's so specific and it helps the brain find the pattern so it can just unwind that on its own. It can take those muscles and move that vertebrae on its own back to the right alignment that is appropriate so that that person can respond readily and appropriately to the stresses that they're under. So it's gentle. When we normalize the range of motion, now we're going to have improved function in the body, a healthier nervous system, a better communication system in the body. That's when we start to express that full level of health that we want. And chiropractic care, it's the largest drugless healing profession in the world. Millions of people have had chiropractic adjustments for over 100 years. It's powerful. And yet, there are still people that don't understand it, right? So we need to get the word out. All right, so if you don't know if you're subluxated, how do you find out? You have to get checked, right? So how many people do you know that struggle at the holiday time of the year and then don't even know that their nervous system is the key to getting through that in a healthy way, but don't even know how to get their nervous system checked? Don't even know that these tests exist that could actually measure the impact of the stress on their, literally on their organs and on their body. So getting checked is the important thing. So remember we talked about you keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting? Some of you in this room are probably actually satisfied with your health. So you want to just keep doing what you've been doing. Some of you may not be satisfied with your health outcomes. So you do not want to keep doing what you've been doing. You want to make changes. And so I want to just invite people to think about who do they know that is not happy with their outcomes and they're ready to make changes. And then send them over to us. See if we can help. See if we can help. And we have some special coupons that we can offer you too, so you can share this with folks that you know that also want to get healthier. You can pass those back. Thanks. All right. And so remember we talked about what are the reasons why our culture is so sick. We talked about wrong definition of health. We talked about not taking responsibility for health. The third thing, the third barrier that I often encounter when I'm working with people is procrastination. Procrastination is the enemy of success, and in my world, it's the thief of health. It's the thief of health. And all the stories that we tell ourselves that are all the great excuses of why we're not taking care of our health. Remember, we talked about being action-oriented, right? If you're going to take responsibility for your health, you're going to be action-oriented. So think about what you've learned in this class. Think about what action are you going to take that's going to ramp you up to the next level for yourself. For some of you, it's just getting regular with your chiropractic care. It's just taking those first steps. And then share this information with the people that you know so that you can help them create the pivot points that they need to get back on track with the health that they want. And I also want to just suggest there's also programs that I do where I go into workplaces or I go into clubs or organizations. So if you know any places that I can come and speak and just help people to make those pivot points, I'm happy to do that. Just let us know what your workplace is. We're happy to come into it. All right? That is everything that I wanted to share with you tonight. I thank you for your time and attention and your engagement tonight. And now just go act on it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.